So, OT, how do you think taking all of this blockchain technology and everything, how can we actually make that work for the real life, like everyday situation? How do you think that technology is actually going to be utilized for everyone?
First, we live in a data-driven world. That's number one, and this is the most secure system that there exists, where you have now banks and so many institutions using it. The true use case, I think, it will start by having day-to-day applications implementing the technology. Because right now, when you look at it, the space is primarily speculation. They're looking at the price of BTC and so on. And if we started implementing, for instance, let's say an app like Instagram, if they add a new feature for maybe a method of payment, also utilizing one of the tokens from the crypto space, that could be a way. In our case, for instance, in Rotor, we are implementing, we're focusing on a secure ledger as well. So we just integrated working with Orbital Shield, which is powered by SafeMoon for data encryption, right? Just provide that security and safety net for our customers and clients. And overall, just have unhackable technology and platform.
But are you using a cryptocurrency to take payments with the app that you guys are working on, or you're still doing regular USD?
No, regular USD for now. But in the near future, the goal is to start integrating and changing, because one of the issues that our specialists have is right now they're still waiting for their check in the mail. So it's not an instant payment method that they have. And the way to cut costs and also less fees, there's just nothing better than the crypto space. So we're looking forward into the next years to come to implement that into our application as well.
Now with the fees and gas fees especially, because like a lot of my knowledge with blockchain and crypto comes from buying NFTs, and you have all of these fees. It's so clunky. How do you think that is going to change, and how soon is it going to change? Because I feel like in the last like 6 to 8 months, less people are talking about blockchain and crypto. Maybe it's just me being ignorant about the subject. So how do you think that is going to change, and what should we do to get ready for whatever shift is happening?
Yeah, and it's going to change because you have, for instance, you have the first generation of the blockchain started with, BTC, and then you have the second generation, Ethereum came in, and all with mining, so using electricity and so on. That's actually how I got into the space, by understanding truly what's happening behind the scenes and trying to be involved in a way, more in a technical way initially when we started, and understanding that mine is basically just you're validating every single transaction and securing a blockchain at the same time. So meaning when you go to a bank, right? So you have someone working in there, let's say you make a deposit or you're making a transfer. You have a teller taking that transaction, validating that transaction for you, and then giving you the confirmation and so on. So now you have those machines providing that, which is using a lot of electricity and so on. Boom. But then you have other generations where it's now moving from proof of work to proof of stake, and we're no longer using a mining rig and so on. And I truly believe that will apply then even to the NFTs. I think so. You can also have the Solana, blockchain to provide that type of service. And I think more and more and more the space will grow. But ultimately, I think big things, they start small, and it has tremendous potential overall to space. I truly believe that what they need to do is right now, every single, from the small blockchain, let's say from the top 100 and up, they're all like, it's all competition. I really think that they also should come in together and start working together as one.
But then that goes against the whole idea of decentralizing everything and making everything separate so no one can control it. But I agree with you.
Yeah, no, no. The decentralizing part of it comes from if you're working with that ecosystem, that's perfect. We are breaking that barrier by now making institutions relevant again. That's the problem to me because when you look at it, Satoshi Nakamoto created BTC to have a peer-to-peer transaction. So it's between me and you without a third party validating that transaction and having that transaction being done in real time. So now, for instance, Ripple, they created the Ripple Net and the software that now is being used for so many different banks. But when you look at it, the banks now, a lot of the banks, you get on a plane, let's say you're going to Spain, right? So you have a 7-hour flight, you get on the plane, you make a wire before you depart your flight, you get there, but your money's not there.
And that is so, like, to me, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, whenever we transfer money or we pay for things with the banks, it takes forever.
Exactly.
Why? I think they're just messing with us.
No, it's the system that is being used. So most banks are still using a SWIFT. And now they are transitioning, a lot of them, they're using, RippleNet, they have the technology now. Some banks like Bank of America and so on, they already use that technology. That's why you see even quick methods of payments such as Zelle and all these other things.
So tell me about
Cash
that.
App.
What's up with Zelle? Like when you use Zelle, they're not using anything that is blockchain or anything related like that, right? They're just using the traditional USD.
Correct.
So why can a bank use Zelle to send money? You get it automatically. But if I would try to wire you money or make a transfer, then it takes days.
Yeah, because with the wire transactions, if you look at, there's restrictions when you're using Zelle because it's within just the U.S. ecosystem. So it's just here in the United States. So you have countries, even Brazil, they use Pix like to make transactions, domestic transactions, right? But when you're going cross borders, it's a completely different story because now you have to use the SWIFT because there is an ID that each bank will use for that particular transaction to identify, okay, this is coming from Bank of America, this is the SWIFT code, and vice versa. Now, banks that are already using the newer technology, the software such as, for instance, Ripple, and there's plenty more. Even MoneyGram and Western Union, they are now starting to integrate the blockchain.
Really?
Yes. So this is what's happening. Banks that do have that technology, now you can send instantly. Because even here, when you send to a different bank, even domestically, like let's say if you send 20K, 30K, because Zelle, there's limits.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. So if you're trying to make a large wire, if the bank has the RippleNet, now you can send in real time. So within seconds, you receive the funds. So, and if it's a bank overseas, it's exactly the same thing. Nothing changes.
As long as you don't get hacked. Because if you get hacked, then you get fucked.
Exactly.
So I got hacked when I was like really deep into NFTs. Someone fished me, and on Twitter, like I was trying to contact OpenSea, and I ended up like getting destroyed. So it was terrible. So how do you think that is going to change? Or like, I guess, what can we do so things like that don't happen to us? Because even with MetaMask, and again, this is more on the NFT side, but also with blockchain and cryptocurrencies,
Right.
it's like sometimes you don't have Face ID to be able to log in, or like if you lose your password, you need this crazy key for your wallet and like all of that.
There are actually a lot of people that lost the key and no longer have access to the funds.
So I think that needs to change because with that constraint is almost worse than having cash. Like cash, if you lose the cash, and everyone says, oh, if you lose your wallet with cash, then you're screwed.
Yeah,
dude,
but that's I think with like anything, I don't think we'll ever find the perfect system.
I think they're gonna do something where
but I truly believe that as far as security wise, it's 10 times easier for someone to hack into your bank account now than get into your crypto wallet. You know, your crypto wallet is so many different layers, and it's just secure and encrypted, and no one knows, because and that gives you also that privacy, which is key. We live in a world that everything now is public. You know, they have access to the entire information. So now you can not only you secure, but you can make a wire, you can make a transfer from millions of dollars or billions, and no one knows who's making that transfer. And I think that's one of the threats that institutions that had initially, but now they finally realize that, hey, this is not going anywhere. Because when you think about it, the only way to really stop this is this: if there's no internet.
Yeah,
And we're not going to leave, and we're not going to leave without internet anyway. So now they're starting to take the steps and create, and on the back end, there's a lot of deals being made. There's a lot of partnerships with some of these big top 10 cryptocurrencies in the space. And of course, you got the media that will come in and then just create the FUD and talk. Right now, like you was mentioning, no one is talking much about the space. Why? Because it's post-crash, you know, things are in red, bouncing back up. But there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. The big players, they are taking advantage of the space right now. So I think when you look at the bigger picture and truly zoom out, and instead of being zoomed in, like a lot of us, you know, nowadays are just doing when we look at the space, is that in the coming years, we have a chance here to have, we sitting on a technology that literally will change the way, you know, we transact and secure pretty much most institutions that we currently have, and change the way our day-to-day life is. From like, no more cash would be used. For the most part, we don't even use much cash.
I don't carry cash.
Exactly. So, and there's a lot of countries like that too. I think more and more adoption will come into play, and it will be, it's not just going to be the speculation, oh, the price of Bitcoin is going up, oh, and everybody jumping into the market. No, they'll be able to see, okay, no, this is being used on a day-to-day basis in order for me to even, let's say even athletes now. Another thing, they're getting paid in crypto, you know, in the NBA. I think more and more will come. So, but of course, there's also a lot of bad things happen in the space. Why? Because it's a new technology. It's premature, and it's easy to get manipulated. Let's just face it. Right now, I mean, the market cap is not even close to $1 trillion, couple billions of dollars. So institutions can play with this market left and right? So eventually, as progress and grows and more adoption comes into play, truly believe that will be stable, and a lot of the FUD and so on will go away. We'll be using on a day-to-day basis. So it'll be something normal. So yeah.
So how do you think entrepreneurs can think differently? So right now, all of this is happening. All the big players are making money by buying this and selling at this. Everyone is trying to play that, and then that's gonna go away. Now you see it that almost no one is crazy on trading anymore. So now it becomes a building block technology that you can use for real everyday applications. So if you're an entrepreneur and you just launched a new company, in your case you have a tech startup, how are you thinking of taking advantage of this technology and utilizing it in a real case scenario for your app?
Right. For me, number one, it would be the security aspect, the safety net that it has. So to make sure as we grow, more data is acquired and so on within the company. So we have to protect that. So integrating that. And then second, by having the methods of payments as well. So we use Stripe on the back end for our technology. And Stripe also has some of the cryptocurrencies already within their ecosystem as well, within the technology built in. Eventually, we'll take baby steps. We'll integrate maybe some of the top 3 or 4 cryptos
And then how do you
within our
pay?
app.
How do you pay then your vendors? Because in your case, the
Mm-hmm.
app, you are providing roadside
Mm-hmm.
assistance
Exactly.
to the user.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then when you're going to pay that mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
if you're taking crypto, how are you going to?
Yeah, so clients, since there is an adoption and there are um, a lot of users now and clients that potentially will have a crypto wallet, you know, and they can easily pay with Ethereum or they can pay with BTC or Ripple. Um, we'll have maybe 2 or 3 options, not too many. But this is all coming later on. This is not right now. Right now, it's just going to
Later.
be USD. Let's just make it clear, USD right now.
Yeah.
But as we see this space growing and more adoption coming into play, I truly believe that even some of our specialists would love to have that option. You know, we'll provide the option. It will be there. And we'll test the waters and see how it's going to be the implementation. But having that changes everything because now in real time it will be less fees because there are fees associated for every transaction whenever the specialist withdraw from our platform into their bank account.
And you
So with
get from
crypto,
Stripe too. Like when you use
exactly.
Stripe,
So
you get
Stripe
a.
has collects the fee and to make that transfer. So by having a wallet integrated, a crypto wallet integrated within our app, is going to be pennies for that transfer. So and it's just going to be in real time, and overall will be a way easier method, and they can get paid that fast.
By the way.
So versus waiting for the check that comes in the mail with some of the complaints that we had with these big players in the space, insurance companies and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So in your case, you're trying to disrupt an industry that usually tech wouldn't go into that.
Yeah, and because it was born out of necessity. So
Yeah, tell me about that
yeah,
because I think
yeah,
it was super cool. Like when
yeah,
you and I first met,
yeah,
you told me about the app. I was like, I could see it immediately. Like, yeah,
yeah,
of course, this would be something.
yeah.
But
Thank you, thank you,
your app looks super cool.
thank you.
I bet it was a lot of work. So how do you in current times, if someone is trying to think about building their own app, how would you go about that? Like starting from scratch?
I mean, I will speak on our experience starting from scratch from day one, from being stuck on the side of the road to having that bad experience, which left a bad taste in our mouth, and I teamed up with my brothers, which we all have our tech background because of our father, and he's also an engineer, mathematician, and we were surrounded at the early on with technology. So even myself, so he had this old computer, those IBMs at home,
Yeah.
and when he would go to work, we would stay at home with the nannies and so on, and I would go and take maybe like a memory RAM or maybe a hard drive, something small. And he would come home and the computer's not working. But taking mine, he's coming home and he has to continue working and so on. He's trying to troubleshoot. And then he finds that part in my room next to my toys. So I get in trouble, get a whooping. But then fast forward, I think he got it. And then he gave me one of the old computers that was just sitting in there around my birthday. And honestly, and it was just all towards gaming, just to play video games and so on. But I will never forget, it was the FIFA came out, I think it was 2012, 2002, 2003. And our GPU, the graphics process unit, it wasn't strong enough to run that game. So I asked him for money to buy a new GPU. And he told me no. He was like, no, what are you trying to do with it? Like, no. So I ended up getting copies of that FIFA that we were trying to play, and I was selling that in middle school. So I started selling. I got maybe 20 copies, and I was selling. Fast forward 2-3 weeks later, I was able to get the GPU, And it started from that. And then my brother, word start, spreading around. And my brother was selling that too in elementary school. I was like, I'll catch your percentage. But take in mind, he's like very little at that time. So we are 5 years apart. I'm 5 years older than him.
Okay.
So we always had that chemistry, and now it translated to the project that we're currently building. So it's a bond that we having since the young age, and we understand each other pretty well. We complement each other. And my youngest brother, he's also involved in the project. He's more like the back end DevOps, like cybersecurity, extremely smart as well. But yeah, so we teamed up, and we started just studying and researching this entire industry, looking from the biggest companies to the small ones, all the solutions that they currently have, and the market as a whole. And initially we started looking at the customer pain points, because that's when the solution, and this when everything was found, by being ourselves on the side of the road. As we begin building it, we realized, okay, now we have our MVP. We started talking to the average Joe and just the issues that they may have, and how should we come and build a product together. What you don't like about your big insurance providers, is AAA, if it's State Farm, what are the issues that you currently have? And then, and this was in Houston. Take in mind, this all started, we were on the side of the road in Houston. Started there, but then we realized, okay, one of the biggest cities, which is also in most need, is LA. So it's Houston, LA, and Dallas. And since LA, you have also Silicon Valley here, and California is a tech hub. So we made the move to come here during the pandemic. Well, so when everything was shut down. When everyone
was leaving.
When everyone was leaving, when everything was shut down, no restaurants, everything closed, we were here. We made the move to come here. And
did that help?
Yeah. To me, this was the best thing that happened to us, because it's like we were inside a capsule. You know how I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan, growing up, and you know how we would go and just go away from that training facility where he would have spent like few hours there. It's like he's there for like months. It's exactly the same thing that happened to us. During that time, every single minute counted to us. So we didn't have any distractions. There was no room for, it was just exercise, meditate, and work. And that was everything to us, because we were able to truly take day by day, 1% every single day, just learning. Because take in mind, I have no background in this space, meaning in the roadside space. Yes, we have the tech background, but we didn't know anything about this roadside industry. So learning every single day, just trying to acquire as much as knowledge, talking to different service providers. Now we got to the point where I literally go on dates with them. Like, that's what I call it. We're going to have coffee. Boom, breakfast. We're going to have coffee. How can we make your life better, your day-to-day life operation, and so on? So working directly with them, addressing all the pain points. And now we have the product. We have the beta version available now here in LA. And the goal is to then go, nationwide and worldwide. So when we came into the market, late November last year, initially was with the Uber approach, like the blueprint, right? Because we were blindfolded building this entire thing. And now we realize that in order to fully get the coverage and also cut down our acquisition costs and so on, is by working directly with the big service providers. So the big companies, the largest companies out there. Not only a lot of them are already self-insured, which takes a lot of the liability, and at the same time, they have a large fleet. They have all the workers are equipped and professionals, and it's a plug and play. So we're providing the tools now. We're building the company profile for all these big companies where they'll now will be able to move fully paperless from assigning to dispatching to paying the employees and everything is going to be a plug and play, and it's going to be all embroidered built in.
That's
So
awesome,
yeah. So yeah, and the client side will remain the same. He goes, he requests service, but now he has companies where they'll be able to see in real time where the entire fleet is. Assign John is 2 miles away. He goes and helps you, and bam, yeah, that's seamless and easy. So yeah,
that's awesome, dude. So OT, how were you able to get your initial investors and like get the app off the ground? Because that's crazy. If you started during COVID, nobody was driving.
Yeah.
So that's probably the time where all of these providers, their business is taking a huge dive.
Right.
Nobody wants to invest, and like, why are we going to invest on an app to like help people on the road when everyone is at home? So what magic tricks did you pull to be able to like get started?
Yeah, no, to really get started, it started initially with us. I mean, a lot of the knowledge that we had in tech, brothers, and then we were part of accelerator program.
Okay.
We were part of No Chip accelerator program, which pretty much opened the doors to a lot of new relationships within the tech space and also VCs and so on. And our early die-hard, friends and family, of course. If you're starting a business, it has to be within your network initially, friends and family. And with us, it wasn't any different. So we started that way, friends and family. But little by little, we started gaining attraction. We saw that not only the problem that we're solving has huge potential here, but also in the international markets. But even to answer your question, even during the pandemic, there were still, even though there wasn't that much, cars moving around, but it was still, this business has proven that we'll still have to move from point A to point B, so now, it's also COVID proofed. So eventually we decided to start that way. So we finished the accelerator program. There were many different mentors. So we got some of our advisors early on. So funding as well through that channel. But yeah, it wasn't. Trust me. In short, it was 90% dark days and 10%.
Yeah.
And 10% now we see the light at the end of the tunnel. It wasn't easy at all.
How did you get through the times when, you have those moments of like, am I even gonna make this work? Like, because I think that happens a lot with me as a filmmaker. Like, I love technology. I have invested in apps. We have great ideas, and then it kind of like goes nowhere because you need runway and you need dev money and all that. But also in making movies, like, you work on a script for 2-3 years and you can't get the funding for it, so you kind of feel like a failure.
Yeah.
So I wonder, how do you deal emotionally with like that fear of failure?
Yeah, to me, you only fail when you quit. And you can't, and in short, you can never defeat a person that doesn't quit. So it's very simple to me. One of my favorite books is Atomic Habits. And if you basically take a day at a time and apply yourself in just 1%, forget about just trying to do 10% in a day. Sometimes
I think that's the struggle.
Yeah, exactly. If you take 1% every single day, small improvements, they add up to big results. And another issue that we have is we feel like that we're stuck. But if you are working every single day towards a goal that you're trying to achieve, and another issue too, you cannot focus just on a goal. You have to have a good system in place. And tying to that book once again, and you have to fall in love with the journey rather than the product. So you really have to embrace those ups and downs. To me, whenever I have a big obstacle, I know, and I'm on the edge, I know that I'm close to get over this hump and get to another level. Every single time, never fails. If I push harder, I can do that. And ultimately, faith. You gotta, you're going to walk a path. You don't know the future. None of us do. But you're going to walk a path that only God knows exactly what path you were walking on a day-to-day basis. So it takes a lot of faith to be able to take the step without even knowing where you're going to, where you're going to land when you make that step. So to me, and my mom is religious as well. And we have within the company, we have one of our developers. Take in mind, this is coming from one of our developers. His name is Carlos. We call him Almirante because we have this military code within the company, part of the culture, where I'm the captain and so on. So we all have different names, but he always takes. He would always around 7 p.m. he would go. Now I have the Bible study now and da 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 da. So we created a culture within the company where we even have our, we discuss, we tie biblical, and we use scripture to also connect to the day-to-day in our operations on a day-to-day basis within the company. So, and it started with him. So ultimately we have the greatest investor, which is him, God. So, and to us, we believe that by having him, you have it all. It's that simple. So even within the day, when things are getting harder and harder for us, when you apply yourself and you live in fear only when you don't know something, right? If you know right now, if you know that you can defeat that lion that is there and is staring at you, okay? Even though that lion is few feet away from you. I mean, you know exactly what to do. You'll be able to tackle that lion and you're going to be able to defeat them. You're not going to be in such fear. Same thing, if you know how to swim, you'll jump. You're not going to have the fear. The fear comes from the unknown. And yes, if you don't have the backbone, if you don't have him as on your side, yeah, it makes things way harder. He knows your weaknesses, you know? And the closer and closer you get to him, most people, they walk in faith rather than walking, by sight. It's a different ball game.
That's very interesting because I wouldn't think that you being someone who's in tech and would take so much from a religious background or faith to bring it into like the work that you guys do. So do you think, is that because your background not being from America? Because I don't see anyone in tech here in the US
it's my family, extremely religious. I would go to church every Sunday, and I grew up in a Methodist church.
Okay. I grew up as a Christian evangelical in Cuba.
Okay.
Like my brother, like your story is very similar to us because we are three brothers. My brother CJ works with me and like film and all that. My other brother, he's a doctor, so but I'm trying to recruit him to work with us in film. So we did grow up in the church and all of that too. But after I grew older, like my point of view about the world changed and many things change. I don't think it's faith I don't believe in one God. I do believe there's a creator that created everything. I just don't have like a mold for it because I believe is so big and beyond what we could even imagine
Right.
that I don't want to put it in a box. But I think it's very interesting because we do need faith to go after like things that we want to accomplish.
Right.
So
Right.
it definitely helps. How do you reconcile that with tech?
Yeah, with tech, from uh, everything, everything that we do, from first to me is even I'm grateful and thankful for everything. So being able to even speak, being able to gather my thoughts a certain way, being able to and all take in mind, we take those things for granted at times, but there are people fighting battles that we know nothing about.
Yeah.
And we're grateful to be in the position that we are. So I take that and every single day I apply that into the tech space because it's a calling. It's part of my journey. So everything that's happening right now, good, bad, comes from him. My entire journey here on this earth, you know, is already traced. So the things that are happening, even sometimes when you hear, have you ever felt like when you meet someone and you feel like, oh, it feels like I've been knowing this person for so long?
Yeah.
Because every single thing that is happening now is all connected.
Yeah.
know?
That to me is like astonishing how, like, think about how many things had to happen for you and I to be in the same place at the same time,
Exactly.
to meet, to
Exactly.
talk, and then only God knows, like, whatever many years in the future,
Exactly.
like where we're gonna be.
Exactly. Yeah.
That to me is mind blowing.
Exactly. Religion, take in mind, I'm not the most, and let me tell you guys, I'm not the most, I'm studying more and more and more, learning every single day the Old Testament. Taking, baby steps little by little, because I truly believe that it's a must read. That is your basic instructions before leaving Earth. That's definitely it's a must read. The Bible is the greatest
What's
book
your
all
favorite
time.
thing that you're reading right now? What, like, passage or story?
Just the overall Moses,
Moses?
the things that he was able to do, and also there's another scripture. I don't know exactly the book, what it's called, but basically explains where we all have gifts. This is very, very important because that translates into the world that we currently live, especially business. So we all have gifts. So there are the story that says, so God gave a gift to like 5 people. So the first one, he gave him 1 gift. The second, 2, the third, 3, 4, and so on. The person that had 5 gifts, he went on, multiplied it, and came out with 5 more, and bam. The one with 4 gifts as well, did exactly the same thing. The person that only had 1 gift, he buried it. He didn't use it.
Yeah.
So, and then when God came back and asked all of them, he explained, oh, out of fear, I just buried my gift. So, and guess what he did? He took that away and gave to the one that knows how to multiply.
That sounds a little bit like Bitcoin.
Exactly. So that's why, by now applies into our day-to-day life. Now I'll tell you why. That's why the richer get richer, and the poor get poor. Because if you don't know how to multiply, because we are here to multiply, if you're not using and if you're not connecting and bringing the, let's say if you don't have the know-how, but you still have to be able to connect the dots in order to still make you relevant enough. But because you don't have, sometimes you're not going to have all the gifts. So if you just have 1, you have to bring maybe 2 or 3 other guys that have multiple gifts that can still fulfill whatever you're trying to accomplish. So and it's just that simple. So and that so it's so many different stories that then when you just apply into your everyday life and so on, you're like, whoa, this is amazing. So
Yeah.
it's my guidance. So now it's also my shelter. I go and post work. I try to get more and more to it. I read. I try to connect with things that I'm currently facing on a day-to-day basis. And it became the best thing that could ever happen to us. And mostly that to me started more in the pandemic because I came from it was ups and downs that I was having as well personally and so on. And one of the best ways to grow spiritually is when you're either challenged or hurting. So yeah, so it was a good time, and I'm grateful for that transition that I have. So now, yeah, of course, we all make mistakes. We're not perfect, but I'm learning every single day, you know. But yeah, but ultimately now I'm getting as close as I can, as much as possible to him, because I truly believe with him I can accomplish it all.
Cool.
Whatever I need to. So
Great. So you came to America in what year?
I got here 2009, going towards 2009, 2010. Yeah, 2010, January 2010.
And then you stayed for a while in Houston before coming to LA.
Mm-hmm.
But how long were you in Houston?
I was in Houston, so I got there. So went to college, and I was there for 9 years.
Right.
9, yeah.
So how do you think moving to LA has changed like your business, like your connections, all that?
Moving to LA because it's a completely different pace than being in Houston. And it's perfect for the area that I'm in, tech. So I'm back and forth from Los Angeles, San Francisco a lot. And within my space, it's perfect. It's just hard at times because I have family. I have 2 boys that live in Houston with their mom, 6 and 3 years old.
That's awesome.
So
I
so
have
yeah,
an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old.
yeah.
Yeah, and they also
2
live
boys as well.
a boy and a
A
girl.
boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so they are pretty much they keep me going, you know. So I want to make sure when it's all said and done, you know, they can even have they can walk in a completely different path. Even though I had a great childhood and everything, but I want to make sure I can provide even better
Yeah.
for them. But it's challenging being away from them and still, but I know what I'm doing now not only will impact and change many lives, but it solves a problem, creates a safety net whenever someone now breaks down on the side of the road. And 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 yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but yeah, I love it because I think it's my cause. So I'm here to definitely do that. If it's happening, that means it's because of him that we're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, LA has a completely different pace. It's great for networking. I mean, and I think there's one of the best cities to network in the world, I think.
Yeah. And that's something I don't think is going to go away in business. Even no matter what technology we're using, all the apps and everything, even the most successful apps in the last decade or 20 years
Exactly.
are made to connect people with other people.
Exactly.
So sometimes I get into little arguments with people that say, LA, this or that. It's
Yeah.
like, it's such an amazing place to meet other people who are going after crazy things. Even if whatever you're doing fails, the people that you meet on the way there are
Right.
always useful for other projects.
Exactly.
So how do you guys deal with, I'm trying to figure it out in your tech side, how do you deal with the failure of like things not working in the app or things not working? Like, let's say if this app 2 years from now goes to zero and you can't make it work, what would you do and how would you think about that?
Yeah. So it's very simple. like I was telling you even in the beginning, failure comes when you quit. So to me, there's always room for improvement. And we have conducted an extensive research over the years. We applied literally 3 years in the making to do this. So, and now we know what the customer wants on our side. But now we know exactly what the service providers they need as well. So we're addressing those 2 points. They are also we see them as partners and also customers at the same time. So we want to provide the best experience possible for them as well. And by being a technology company, we're extremely neutral. So that is why even Rotor as a whole, right now you see the first major application where is the emergency, the roadside. But our ultimate vision here is to bring solutions to the automotive industry as a whole. So there will be other phases for the technology that we're currently building. That is why the technology is not called Smart Tow or something, because you would put yourself inside a box where you can never get out of. Mm-hmm. It's just very important. So when you are a tech company, you have a tech startup, the branding, the name is extremely important, because then you have to pivot and you have to start everything from scratch. Us, if this is not working, we can pivot real fast. Why? Because we also a light company. It's easier for small companies to pivot and make changes. That's why eventually they then lead to disruption and taking away small pieces of the market to then adding to bigger pieces in the future. So with Rotor, to what we're doing, to answer your question, it's just, it doesn't even, we have an exit plan, and until we reach our exit plan, there's no stopping.
So tell me about that exit plan, because that was going to be my next question. Because I know that every app, you hear this a lot. Every business, if you don't have an exit plan, you're screwed.
Right.
Tell me about that exit plan.
Yeah, the exit plan is simple because it's easier, it's way easier. See, most startups, I know, it's our baby. You know, we put so many hours, time into it. And you become attached, you know, because it's just like a baby, you know. It starts to crawl and then walks and then runs and then off he goes to college. And this is the phase that it is now. So now he's starting to get to college, he's walking on his own, but we have to understand that then eventually that baby will move on, it will marry someone, right? Mm-hmm. Right? It's exactly the same thing when you connect to this space. So eventually it will lead to acquisition. And we're aware of that. This is automotive industry is huge. There are a lot of players within this space, and we're prepared for that. And it's very important because you have to know how to exit, and that applies to everything, right? So even in soccer, let's say if you can no longer perform like you would 4 or 5 years ago, you know, it's time. You know, the clock is ticking. Yeah. So it's better for you to go as a champion than go out as, you know, as a loser, just losing. Yeah. So ours is the exact same thing. So as we go to the market, more traction, let's say if it's 5 years from now, if it's 10 years from now, I don't know. But when that time comes and we know that, hey, it's time, we believe that this company now will provide even continue this path and a massive growth opportunity by working in with this acquisition, we'll exit. And we'll this is something that we've talked internally with the team, even our shareholders, and yeah, like it's better to exit that way than now not exiting, holding into it, and then go down the ground.
Yeah, Is there
So,
like a dollar amount valuation that
oh my God.
if it hits, if there, because I bet that that must be a crazy experience. I never experienced anything like that, but just thinking about being on a meeting and they say, okay, I'm willing to pay this much, and the number is like, I don't know, what will be that?
Throw me a number. I'll give you a.
Let's say
I'll give you a window.
you give me a window,
yeah,
okay.
I'll give you a window.
Let's say I know nothing about market valuation for tech company in your state.
Which is massive. You see Uber at 60 billion,
Yeah,
Airbnb 200 billion. I mean, it's
it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
But let's say someone offers you a check for like 150 million.
No way.
No way.
No way.
250.
No way.
Yeah, I don't think I can go higher, but then we're just saying,
No way,
saying
but it's,
nonsense
yeah, no way,
numbers.
but definitely will be in the within the billions. let's
So
just say.
if it's 1 billion, then 1.2 billion.
Not yet, but you're getting up there.
If someone offer you a check tomorrow
Oh my God, this guy's.
for 1.2 billion dollars.
I mean, tomorrow is a different story. Tomorrow is a different story.
I'm talking right now. Like,
Right
is
now?
there a number right now?
Right now? Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's tomorrow, yeah, we'll shake hands. Hey, it was great doing business with you. Yeah, for 1.2, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. But as we gain more traction, now it's not going to be that number. It's going to be
It's gonna
greater.
be more.
Yeah.
I guess you have to. It'll take a lot of you to almost bury yourself in the work, because those meetings, I'm sure they will come
No,
to
they will
you,
come. No, exactly.
and it must be really hard not to just give in. But at the same time, I interviewed.
It came one. We had one offer. That was December last year.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah.
And you said no. It was too.
No, it was yeah, it was just not the time. I truly believe that we are the ones that right now that can do this. I truly believe that within this industry, we have, we are hungry. And when you are playing, and trust me, it's like a lion, right? So a lion, when he's hungry, he's out there. He's trying to make sure, he catches whatever he can, so that he then, once he eats, once the meal comes, he's chilling. It's come. So we're hungry.
So how do you feel with following on that? How do you feel about this idea of pushing yourself almost to the breaking point where you're like on the edge of like redlining? Do you try that? And I've been in different businesses and work with different people, and I've had friends who would put themselves in a financial strain almost on purpose to force themselves to go and perform. But then I also saw some of those people like just crumble under anxiety and the stress. How do you approach that?
The stress, to answer the stress, number one, building good habits. Because good habits, they'll make time your ally, and bad habits, they'll make time your enemy, period. And that's also already tied to Atomic Habits. If you got that's the book. I mean, that's just one of the best. To me, in order to do that, you have to exercise. You have to have a balance. You have to understand that you're not going to be able to do it all yourself. And literally take one day at a time. And more importantly, focusing on being better than yesterday every day. It's that simple. You're not going to compare yourself to another big company. You're not going to compare yourself to an individual next to you that just bought a big house or whatever the case may be. And that applies to everything really in life. Even outside of your professional, your personal life, just being better than yesterday, Because when you do that, you're constantly improving yourself. constantly improving yourself, and you're going to feel good about yourself. And that will take away a lot of the stress and pain that comes along the way. And also having a system in place. Because once you have a system in place, it's rather than just focusing on a goal, you're going to know step by step how to ultimately reach that goal. Because if you don't have a system in place, you won't know how to get from this point to the next point. And that makes way harder. And that eventually, when things are not going well, and also loving what you are doing. When you love what you do, you pretty much go through the worst, in order to fully accomplish and, whatever you're trying to accomplish. So love what you're doing, have the system in place, very important. And yeah, just focus on improving yourself every day. Just be better than yesterday. That's simple. And I really think that you can overcome anything. You can build whatever you want to build, if it's from filmmaking, if you're an athlete, if you're in a tech space, if it's finance, you'll be able to accomplish anything, really.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you really enjoyed this, please share it with a friend, and also check out this other interview. I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it.